Hello, I'm Mark Adley. We're going to have Hello, I'm Mark Adley. In this video we're going to be looking at the Drugs Wheel game. I've had a lot of requests for training for people wanting to know how to run the game effectively, and I'm not able to meet all those requests. So I thought I'd make this video up to show you how I've been using the game. And I'd certainly like to hear back from you if you're doing things differently, or if you've got any feedback. Great, thank you. So we're going to try and give an overview of how I run the Drugs Wheel game. I'd certainly be very interested to hear how other people do it. We're going to use the printed version of the game for this, as it's sort of easier to maneuver around. Just a couple of things. The instruction booklet, this one here, gets updated regularly. So if you sign up to the mailing list on the website, you get updated when the new versions come out. And just one thing, although there are a range of a large number of printed drug labels, doing this game with all of them can take a long time. When I trialed it, I worked with a young person and did all of the drugs, and it took well over 2.5 hours, by which point she'd lost the will to live. So what I'd recommend is, before running the game, pick out a selection of the drugs that you want to use with your client group, or whoever you're doing the training with beforehand, and work out which drugs are going to be most relevant for them. So there's two steps to the game, really. The first is the descriptions of the drugs. So on these cards there's a plus and a minus, which are positives and negative effects of the drugs. And the way I found this to be most effective is breaking the group into two teams, Team A and Team B, and letting them, turning all of these face up and letting them pick, because although some of the drugs, some of the effects apply to multiple categories, it's only when you see all 7 categories together can you pick out that one belongs to a specific group. So I would say, right, Team A, pick one of these out, and then move it to which category you think it is, which drug type you think it is. And this brings a larger description of, it's not about getting the answers right. The learning point in this game really is in the discussion. So if somebody doesn't know the answer, you can use that really as a learning point, bounce it off with the other team and have a discussion. So confident, energetic, sleepless and depressed goes to stimulants. Creative, connected, psychedelics. The risk-taking and unconsciousness are quite specific, or more specific to the depressant group. Pain-free, relaxed, dependent and overdose. Obviously pain-free and overdose would suggest opioids. Relaxed, laughing, lazy, psychosis. Cannabinoid group. Floaty, happy, disconnected, scared, disassociative group. Loved up, excited, drained and depressed, empathogens. And this really serves as a discussion about the different categories, what the different categories of drugs are, how they overlap. For example, feeling good would be something that all of the drug groups do, but having a little look at the sort of differences between the different drug groups. So the next stage of the game is to use the drugs themselves. I've placed a pre-selected amount there, pre-selected drugs on the board, and I'd then get each team to pick a drug, and then for them to select which of the category it belongs to. I tend to give 1 point for them getting into the right category, and then you can use the inner and outer rings of the drugs wheel to break it into further sections. So for example, you could break it into legal or illegal, or prescribed or non-prescribed. You can use whatever you like for the different rings. So in this game, we're going to look at the outer ring being illegal drugs and the inner ring being legal drugs. So Team A would take a drug here. So let's say they take cocaine. They would put that in the illegal stimulant group, and they would get 2 points for that. Other drugs as well, GHB, GBL. And use the instruction book here. GBL is interesting because it's not actually a drug in itself, it's a prodrug of GHB, so you can have a discussion about that. There's also a lot of room for discussion around prescription drugs. Codeine, for example, is available in non-prescription form, but in a 30 milligram form it's a prescribed drug. So you can have a big discussion then about prescription drugs, where they fit in, and whether it's legal or illegal to have a drug, whether you have the prescription for it. And certainly working with young people, that can be there's a lot of room for discussion there. They often think that because a drug is prescribed, it means it's legal. One of the main criticisms of the drugs wheel, and it's kind of well founded in many ways, is the empathogen group, and it's quite unclear. There's a lot of overlap between stimulants and empathogens. I set the empathogen group up because there are certain drugs now on the market, for example MDAI, that release a lot of serotonin and make you feel very loved up and very flushed and very sweaty, but have no stimulant effect at all, and they didn't fit into the existing group. So the empathogenic group would be one where there's more, I would associate with more serotonin being released. So drugs such as MDMA would go in the empathogenic group. And obviously there is overlap with a lot of drugs here. So, you know, I wouldn't mark somebody down if they put MDMA in a stimulant, but I might just say, look, you know, as it releases a lot of serotonin and it's associated with that, we would think of it more in terms of an empathogen. Other drugs are... drugs have different effects, so there's often not exactly a definitive answer. So if somebody can come up with a really good discussion point around why, for example, they put ketamine in the, in a different group, in a psychedelic group, there's room for discussion. Again, it's not really about getting the answers right. So I would then continue the game in that manner, asking the teams to discuss and take it in turns, giving 2 points. The instruction booklet will be handy in terms of it has classes and drug types. Also, on the back of the sheet, there are blank labels. So if there are drugs that aren't in the drugs wheel game that you need to use, or if they're local terms that are used, make up your own drug label. And if you want custom drugs labels made up, just drop me a line on the website, so on the contact page. So that's thedrugswheel.com, and thank you very much.